welcome to News 6 Extra. I am Christopher Heath. It is Tuesday, August the 19th. We are on the other side of Monday, one day closer to the weekend. As Loverboy said, everybody's working for the weekend. Kathleen is joining me as always, and we got a jam-packed show here today. We've got, of course, weather with David coming up. We'll talk about some news of the day, water rates and other things, rules and regulations, and then we'll put a little dessert at the end. Huh? Is that a good tease?
Oh, yeah, that's a good tease. I like that. It's been a busy day.
It has been a busy, we're only 2 days into this work week, and it has been super busy. UCF back in class.
All right.
I go back today. I teach my first day. We'll be back in front of the students today. So I'll head off after this and go do that. But my kids are on week 2 of their schooling. They're in 7th and, I guess it'd be 9th grade, freshman year, whatever. And
nice.
So, yeah, things are happening out there. How about you? Busy?
Oh, busy. It's been a busy morning here in the newsroom. So now's my little break, I guess. So it's been running around a lot today.
Put the headphones on and tell everyone, don't bother me. I've got work to do.
Right. This is my break.
Nice. Good stuff. All right, let's bring in David because we're going to have to get to the weather quickly before we move on to the rest of it. And David, I know yesterday when we chatted, we were discussing what Aaron was doing, what it was doing to our weather system. You were also teasing out that other system lingering off of the African coast waiting to come get us. But I mean, this is the time of year. This is, when you start to look at them and you start to say, okay, there's one now, there's another one behind it. There's all the conditions behind that one to generate another one. We're just at this point just waiting to kind of see how each forms and kind of what they end up doing.
Exactly. And to tell you the truth, Chris, I actually have a lot of good news for our viewers today. Yesterday, I put out an article over on clickorlando.com here on the News 6 Plus app mentioning that what Aaron does will very heavily dictate what happens with that next tropical wave and the one right behind that, which was newly designated Invest 99L late last night into early this morning. Well, as we all know, and I'll show you here into the show here momentarily, Aaron's decided to be the most stubborn cane we've seen in a long time, which essentially seals the deal for, I would honestly say, much of the rest of August from here on out.
Just kind of sucks up all the energy, kind of disrupts the atmosphere, and just kind of ruins the chances for anybody else to develop, kind of?
Kind of, sort of, yeah. And as a matter of fact, we'll go ahead and get started. I'll go ahead and pull up our local radar first and foremost so we can talk local weather. You can see radar is fairly quiet. We actually have a little bit of the dry air that's working in on the north and western side of Aaron right now, doing a number on that system coming across the Florida Peninsula. Now, it's going to be negligible at best. We're still expecting a rerun of our thunderstorms later on this afternoon. And if you look down over Osceola County, we actually have an unfamiliar sight. We haven't talked brush fires in a while, but if you look down there just south of the Lake Toho area, you can see those blips of green fanning off towards the southwest. Those are wildfire, brush fire signatures down there. So it goes to show we have been a little on the drier side in comparison to what we saw earlier this month and especially end of July. Now, here's a look at our big picture pattern on the infrared satellite. You can see some popcorn showers and storms off our west coast in the Gulf. And then there's ugly looking Aaron. Aaron has become a mere shadow of its former self. Although, if you look towards the end of the loop there was a massive burst of thunderstorms right over the center. So maybe, just maybe, we're starting to enter a bit of a gradual recovery phase. We'll wait and see, and we'll take a look at that here momentarily. I wanted to show you the rainfall totals from yesterday as well. If you tuned in with us for News 6 Extra at 12:30, I'd mentioned that we had a heavy rain risk potential for the upper western half of our viewing area, and if you look in the last 24 hours, that's exactly where we saw the heaviest accumulation. So that forecast verified immaculately, which is always good news. We pinpoint the information, we get it out to you all in a timely manner, and we successfully sealed the deal, which is good news. Temperatures outside right now, when you head out to the coast, we're actually seeing a little bit of a cooling trend outside of Titusville. Titusville, I guess, didn't get the memo that we have a hurricane sitting off our east coast, helping to kind of drop the temps a little bit with increased flow coming in off the coast. I'll show you that here in a second as well. When you transition further inland, however, Naturally, since we are like a heat island here in Orlando, we're sitting at 91 degrees. Bartow also coming in at 91 alongside Lake Wales, Apopka, and the Villages. You can see Leesburg and Lakeland, though. Citrus Ridge, we haven't even crossed 90 degrees just yet, which is a sight for sore eyes. And it has been for an extended period of time, but the change is coming. We're not quite at the warmest part of the day just yet. And you can see outside of New Smyrna Beach, Cape Canaveral, and Daytona, we're probably going to squeak back into those lower 90s across the board. And despite that onshore flow coming in out of the east, thanks to Hurricane Erin, as well as a little bit of the moisture we're expecting to dip in and create some thunderstorms later this afternoon, many of us are still going to have those triple-digit feels-like temperatures. But I would imagine we're slowly on the decline, slowly. We're not going to see them go away just yet, but remember, everybody, it's already August 19th. Time is ripping by, so it's going to be fall before you know. We're about a month out now from the start of the fall season, which is personally one of my favorites, to tell you the truth. When we look outside from the state perspective, here's a look at your overall wind flow, and you can see all the arrows are coming in out of the top right corner of the screen and spilling across the peninsula. And then you can see, as you look further towards the right-hand side, that's Erin. The wind field is getting bigger, and I'm here to tell you right now, as soon as you exit here from News 6 Extra, go back to your computer, back to your desk, back to social media, that's going to be the headline. Just be careful where it is you get that headline. Erin is indeed getting bigger, but with a little bit of a twist. Before we get to that portion, I just want to highlight a couple things. We are looking at a high surf advisory right along the East Coast. So if anything, if you still have a little bit of spare time, despite the fact that summer vacation is just about over for a lot of us, you might want to think about rearranging your plans and headed to the Gulf Coast for right now. Gulf Coast is sitting pretty. We have the small craft advisory as well up against our entire eastern coastline of the Florida Peninsula. 9 to 14 foot waves just off the coast, with those winds cranking up to tropical depression, if not tropical storm force, all thanks to Erin. You can see here on this Surfs Up graphic I made for you, these are the wave heights associated with Hurricane Erin, and as its reach expands in all directions, the diameter of the storm grows. Because the center has started to unravel during this weakening phase, we're going to see these high surf conditions persist at least until Thursday, as the advisory recommended. Now, before we transition to the tropics, let's talk rain chances. So we're still sitting at about, on average, 40 to 50% for all of us, 40 to 50% chance your area actually sees some rain today, albeit the coverage has dropped a little bit thanks to that onshore component driving in a little bit of dry air. But needless to say, once we get just beyond the warmest part of the day, there you have it on our clouds and rain radar here. Future radar, I should say, you can still see till about the 9-10 o'clock hour, we will still see those stray isolated showers and especially popcorn thunderstorms fire up, especially closer to that 5 o'clock hour. So be leery. I know late last night over at my house in Polk County, we still had lightning ongoing till about 9-10 o'clock. So those nocturnal storms are still going to be in play later on this evening. Available moisture, though, the narrative hasn't switched here as Erin begins to pull away towards the northeast. Notice how it helps to tug down a little bit of extra moisture for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So our rain chances are indeed going to go up over the next couple days once we get this dry air out of there. And I'm going to quickly fast forward before the GFS does something silly and shows a hurricane in the Gulf. That's not happening, folks. I'll tell you that right now. So here is the water vapor with Erin. And I know what you're thinking. If you've been following this storm like many of us across the southeast and probably much of the eastern coast of the U.S. altogether have, you're probably thinking, what the heck happened? This doesn't even look like a hurricane anymore, let alone a Category 2, let alone, I'll add another layer to that, a prior Category 5 only 2 days ago. That's what a lot of the upper level wind shear and the dry air, especially wrapping in on the western half, the left half of the storm, has done to it. You can see here, though, when we switch over to the latest info from National Hurricane Center, we're still sitting at 105-mile-an-hour winds in the center. So a formidable hurricane, no doubt, and they're definitely feeling it down there in the Bahamas and the Turks and Caicos, where tropical storm warnings are still active. The central pressure has climbed about 30 to 35 millibars in the last 24 hours. That's how much this thing is filled. And to give you a crash course in physics, that's essentially what's happening here. We've reached a neutral point in the wind flow helping to push Erin along. That's why it's slowed down so much. And on top of that, as it weakens, the core of the storm, the center, actually starts to spin a little bit slower. And as a result, that's why the wind field expands. That's why the clouds start to reach out further and further away from the storm's core. So when you see those headlines or the thumbnails or the posts on social media, especially TikTok, I'm looking right at you all. When they say it's getting bigger, yes, but it has its give and takes. When you look at it from a negative standpoint, the influence is going to be felt in a farther distance. But when you look at it from a positive, that's because the storm's been knocked down 3 whole categories. Now, we are still anticipating there could be some gradual re-strengthening as it gets away from that wind shear and starts to try to nestle into a bit of a moisture pocket coming off the mid-Atlantic coast. But notice here, and I'm with the National Hurricane Center 100%, we will probably see slow strengthening all over again, but it does not look like we're going to hit any type of explosive intensification like some of our models are still alluding to out there. I call it, well, basically, they're out to lunch. We'll put it that way. And then in terms of the rest of the tropics, we still have 2 areas of interest, but good news, because Aaron is dragging its heels, it's likely that that orange AOI with a 60% chance of development over the next 7 days, if not, doesn't develop altogether. Models are very back and forth with it now. And then Invest 99L, which I was a little astonished to see National Hurricane Center designated that feature, should start to dissipate almost altogether in about another 48 or so hours because of dry air coming off of the Africa coast, and that should squash it once and for all. I also want to say, though, despite August looking almost crystal clear once we get Aaron up out of the picture, we're still on that upward climb. And to tell you the truth, as we get closer to September 10th, that's kind of, I know it sounds cliche because that is the calendar peak of the season, but that's where I'm bullseyeing a return to action out there across the tropics. So you'll want to stay with us as we move over the next several days. We get Aaron out of the picture and we start to look ahead at when it looks like a resurgence in activity across the Atlantic could come back in a variety of ways. As you close out, this is your 7-day forecast. You can see today kind of a slightly lower shot that any of us get some rain. But then as that moisture gets pulled south, you can see it there, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, up to a 60% shot. And then the weekend, 70-70 for both Saturday and Sunday. So we'll be watching that. Hopefully that'll also help to cool us down a little bit more here in Central Florida.
The always good thing about, if there is, when we have a hurricane, especially one that doesn't do much more than just kind of chop up our waves and stuff, is it does kind of do what you were saying there. It kind of resets us a little bit, makes us not quite be sweltering quite so much, cools us down just a little bit. And the best part is, especially like with Aaron, as we're seeing, stays way offshore. You know, doesn't even give us a brushing, just stays way offshore, does the thing, and moves on. We need more of that the rest of this year.
Exactly.
So
yeah,
you're going to be busy now
between. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say you're gonna be busy between now and middle of September to do more of this. But right now it's looking pretty nice.
It is definitely. Believe it or not, the atmosphere behaves a lot like when you go into the gym for a workout. After a strenuous lift like a Category 5, it needs a second to recover. So there'll be some dead space before we really ramp back up again come September timeframe.
Yeah, when I'm in there just blasting my glutes and my pelts, getting swole.
There it is. No. That was Aaron previously.
All right, David, thank you. We will do this again tomorrow with one more update on Aaron before we bid adieu to our good friend, Aaron. Thank you, sir. All right, well, back here at home, Seminole County Sheriff's Office making a very quick arrest in an attack that we first reported yesterday afternoon. A woman was out for a jog along the Avenue and 434. That's just on the other side of I-4, if you kind of know where this area is near Longwood. She was out for a jog and a man attacked. It's all happened around 4 o'clock on Monday afternoon. He was on a motor scooter, one of those electric scooters, grabbed the woman, tried to drag her to a wood line. She started screaming, and those screams alerted bystanders who could hear that. They called 911. Those calls go in. People start kind of now coming around. The man realizes something's happening and he flees the area. Well, Seminole County Sheriff's Office has arrested this man. We're trying to get his name and the specific charges he's facing as well as any previous, but there's a picture of the man there, kind of a grainy surveillance image. But this suspect is now in custody. And of course, we'll have more information on clickorlando.com and on News 6 starting at 4 o'clock. If you may remember, In Orange County last month, in July, there was a woman who was attacked along the Econ Trail, another popular jogging trail in the area. Reached out to the Orange County Sheriff's Office this morning. Orange County Sheriff's Office says right now it has no new information on that case. So apparently that suspect is still at large. Meanwhile, the suspect in the Seminole County case apprehended by the Seminole County Sheriff's Office early this morning. All right. Well, staying in the general area there, Apopka is looking at raising its water rates. And if you've been paying attention to a lot of our cities across Central Florida over the last 6-7 months, you've seen one by one, they've looked at water rates. They've looked at fire fees. They've looked at other sources of bringing in revenue. Seminole County adding to its gas tax. This is all part and parcel for what we've seen in the economy writ large. Things are more expensive. Services cost more. We have, for a long time here in Central Florida, enjoyed a very, very low tax burden. But as we're growing, well, that growth comes with needing more services to come in. Residents demand things. They want roads fixed. They want roads expanded. They want water that is clean to drink. They want fire service to respond when there's a fire in their neighborhood or at their home. Of course, all of this costs money. And so one by one, we're seeing cities look at changing their fees. News 6 morning anchor and Apopka community correspondent Justin Warmoth has this report from Apopka.
We got revenue and we got expenses, and so when your expenses go up, you have to raise your rates.
Apopka Mayor Brian Nelson claims the city's hands are tied when it comes to the proposed rate hikes. He says the St. John's Water Management District is now requiring the city to tap into the lower aquifer for its water.
And what happens is the water, you'd think water deeper would be better, it's not. So now we have to put on an ozone treatment, another 5 or 6 million. So we'll have about 12 million all in on replacing what was a perfectly functioning, water plant.
That cost passed on to residents, 15.5% higher for water, reclaimed water, and sewer each. Garbage rates could also go up citywide by as much as 15%.
There's a lot of things going up. Do you think Apopka is still an affordable place to live?
Yes, I mean our tax rates are one of the lowest in the area. I mean, when you look at our water rates, I mean our sanitation rates are probably the lowest in the area. So I mean, you got to look at the global area. I mean, if we were 20% higher than everybody in the area, then you have, I think, a reason to question our rates.
Nelson denies that Apopka's population boom is playing into the rate increases, but that's been a common theme among locals who feel the city hasn't managed the growth properly.
We try to manage how many units, what kind of, growth we're putting on those properties. But, at the end of the day, property rights are, what this country was founded on.
Sure. No, I totally understand that. I think people do understand that, but I think what they don't understand or what they're upset about is you do have that, but then the infrastructure doesn't follow and it's playing catch up a little bit.
I don't know that I agree with that.
That was Justin Warmoth reporting. And of course, we look at local cities raising a lot of these rates. Bear in mind, there is another branch of our state government. They meet for 60 days in Tallahassee every year. There's 160 of them. And many of their decisions, well, affect your pocketbook. So don't just look to your local city council or county commission. Pay attention to Tallahassee, because what they choose to do or choose not to do can hit you in the pocketbook. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about e-bikes, a league in Florida, and a cake debate between me and Kath Lee. That's ahead. I tried to adjust my hair during the break, and it's doing a thing. It's just not good. Anywho, welcome back to News 6 Extra. I'm Christopher Heath. I do look like a character from the Grinch Who Stole Christmas, but that's neither here nor there. There's Dave Nazzaro. All right, e-bikes and e-bike rules. One by one, we've seen cities try and take up what to do with e-bikes. They obviously go faster than normal bikes. They're powered by batteries. Same thing with e-scooters. And DeLand is the latest city to try and wrestle with this issue and figure out exactly what to do. Molly Reed has this story.
I'm Molly Reed, your Volusia County community correspondent. The city of DeLand is looking to crack down on e-bike riders with its own ordinance. One downtown business owner called e-bike riding here right now the Wild West. According to state law, e-bikes are supposed to be following the same rules as regular bicycles, but the police here say many riders aren't doing that.
Because I would much rather your kid go home with a, let's say, $65 bicycle ticket than me having to show up and we have to tell you, unfortunately, your kid was involved in a serious accident.
Just last month here, a 15-year-old girl was hit by a car and killed on her e-scooter while riding to cross South Woodland Boulevard. DeLand Police Lieutenant Mike Stacy says they're seeing a trend in people on e-bikes and e-scooters, and many breaking the bicycle rules are getting hurt, whether it be their fault or the cars.
The big one is always going to be distractions for, young kids. I've seen kids riding with bikes in their hands, they have their AirPods in, they're kind of oblivious as to what's going on.
The city is looking to beef up those rules with its own ordinance that's currently being drafted. Commissioner Richard Paiva says he's been told several rules are under consideration for it that they can follow under state law.
So it's things like the age of the users of the different devices, the speed limits of the different devices, where the devices can be used.
They could even require helmets.
And we've been having these conversations for years now about when is it going to be regulated.
Downtown DeLand business owner J.C. Figueroa sells e-bikes out of his bike shop and says a crackdown is needed for juveniles and adults.
We're seeing a lot of people without licenses now, getting one form of transportation revoked, and now they're on another self-propelled transportation, which is, they shouldn't be able to do.
Right now, the ordinance is being drafted. It will not be on the agenda for this week's City Commission meeting, but I'm told it will be on the agenda in the coming months. I'm your DeLand, Volusia County Community Correspondent Molly Reed, News 6.
And of course, it's not just e-bikes. I have covered in my career here in Central Florida many a story in the villages dealing with people on golf carts not obeying the rules of the road. So we'll wait and see exactly what happens. All right, so here in Florida, there is a new trend for men, but it could be for men and women both. And it's to try and get people out and get them active and get them oriented towards teamwork. Well, Christian Benavides has this story.
These soccer players in Cooper City, Florida, are keeping score in more ways than one. Goalkeeper Miguel LaRosa.
I always loved soccer. I just had to stop because I was too big.
At 420 pounds, LaRosa decided to begin his weight loss journey, which included a complete overhaul of his lifestyle.
Literally right after taking the photo, I was telling my friends, that's it, I had to stop.
A year ago, he found Man vs. Fat, a program new to the U.S., but 10 years running in the U.K. It's a league for men who want to shed some pounds. In order to join, you have to be considered overweight on a BMI chart. No experience on the field is required.
The main goal is the health.
Felipe Herman is the coach.
Those guys, they look at the program and they said, okay, maybe I can go there, participate in the community, play soccer, feel good about it, and nobody's going to judge me.
Scoring goals is just one way to add points. At the weekly weigh-in, players can also help their team if they're dropping weight.
For every 2 players who lose weight, an extra point is added to that team's score.
Players come up with a team name using a twist on actual soccer clubs. There's the Ozempic Lyon, A1C Milan, and the Real Mac Rib.
I think the best part about this program is the community. It's very positive. It digs into the competitive nature of men and guys when they get together, but it leverages that for a positive end.
Okay. A team working together towards a common goal of better health. Christian Benavides, CBS News, Cooper City, Florida.
I like it. That's a good idea. Kathleen, what do you think? Little gentle competition. Get out there. I'm not much of a soccer fan. I hate to tell you, Kathleen, your mic. They killed your mic again. No.
No.
There we go. You're back.
I'm back.
All right, she's back.
So I'm
thoughts?
not a big soccer fan either, but I like the idea of this, and I like what they said, that it's like a no judgment zone, and the fact that you have to be overweight to even join, because a lot of people maybe are a little resistant to joining teams because they feel like, oh, they're not good enough or they're not as in shape as other people. So I like this. I feel like it's a very welcoming environment. So that'd be something I would join.
The only question I have is what happens if, let's say you're very successful at, let's say you watch your diet, you exercise, and you lose enough weight. Are you not allowed to play anymore? Because that would seem like a downside, but I mean, you still made friends and stuff, right?
Well, I guess the community aspect's still there, but that is a good point. What happens if you get in shape?
This is good. I mean, and I was thinking about this with a friend of mine this weekend. I ran a 5K on Saturday morning, and I was talking to him as he was walking up, and we were kind of discussing the sports we played in high school. And, some of them, as an adult, you can continue to play, and others, like once you're no longer a kid, you just can't. Like I played football growing up, and there's not like a men's tackle football. It's just there isn't. But I also played hockey growing up, and you can go play men's, what we call it, beer league hockey, which probably gives away how healthy that actually is. I mean, the skating's healthy. The pitcher of beer and cold ones after the game probably don't do you any favors.
Probably not, no.
Okay, so David mentioned at the beginning of the show, we are tracking Aaron as it does its thing. We've still got at least another 3-4 weeks before we get to peak hurricane season, but a petition is afoot. There is a push across Florida to bring back the beloved Publix hurricane cakes. We got, Susan's getting a good look at what there's secret behind the secret sauce here. There we go.
There we go.
The Publix cakes. They've been memorable. People love them. The petition has 26,000 people have signed it to try and get Publix to bring back the hurricane cakes. Many of the people like the fact that it kind of pokes fun at something we deal with here in Florida every single year. But, Publix thus far, we're waiting to see. Your thoughts? Big hurricane cake fan? Moderate hurricane cake fan? Probably not a great story coming out of the last one about, getting together and losing weight. Now we're like, I'd like to bring back some cakes I can eat while I'm trapped at my house.
Listen, I love Publix cakes. So
Okay.
It doesn't have to be a hurricane cake. It can be any kind of Publix cake. I think they are top notch. So I'm all for bringing back anything Publix cake related.
You can make your own hurricane cake.
Well, you
Like
can't.
Publix sells all the ingredients. You could whip one of those up.
That is true, but they wouldn't look as pretty as the Publix cakes.
No, but I mean, we have enough hurricanes. You get some practice, and by the time the third or fourth hurricane season rolls along, you maybe got yourself a little side hustle there.
That's a good idea. Maybe I should start practicing.
Listen. I am an absolute sucker for baked goods. Candy, stuff like that. I'm kind of take it or leave it. But if you've got like a fresh thing of like baked cookies or like a cake, like a really, it's like, and no offense to like your store bought sheet cake, but like a really good, like buttercream icing cake with maybe some fruit filling in it. Oh.
That's what I'm
a
saying.
Cheesecake. Or a cheesecake.
Yeah.
Oh, those are good. So good.
Yeah. Now I'm hungry.
Okay, so next time we'll discuss, is a cheesecake a cake or is it a pie? That is open to discussion. And should fruitcake be considered cake or just an abomination? Those will be topics for the next time we're on this show, which will be tomorrow. So Kathleen, as always, thank you so much for your help. Thank you for putting this together. Thank you to David for the forecast. And thank you to you for watching. We'll be back here at 12:30 tomorrow for another News 6 Extra. In the meantime, you can get all your breaking news and weather on clickorlando.com. Of course, News 6 will be on the air today starting at 4 o'clock, while the very latest on the jogger attacked in Seminole County, as well as other news across Central Florida. So we hope to see you then. Until then, I'll see you back here tomorrow at 12:30. Have a great one. Bye.